Amen. Hallelujah. If you please stand and join us in reading God's Word this morning. It'll be coming from 1 Samuel, chapter 30. 1 Samuel, chapter 30. 1 Samuel, chapter 30. 1 Samuel, chapter 30.
Amen.
We'll be reading verses 1 through 8. 1 Samuel, chapter 30. We have to say amen. Amen. We don't have to say hold up. 1 Samuel, chapter 30, verses 1 through 8. And it says, Now it happened when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and Ziklag attacked Ziklag and burned it with fire, and had taken captive the women and those who were there, from the small to great. They did not kill anyone, but carried them away and went their way. So David and his men came to the city, and there it was burned with fire, and their wives, their sons, their daughters had been taken captive. Then David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's two wives, Ahinoam and Jezreel, likes, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal, the Carmelite, had been taken captive. Now David was greatly distressed, for the people who spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Then David said, Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, please bring me the ephod here to me. And Abiathar brought the ephod to David. So David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I pursue this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, Pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. Amen. The Lord have a blessing to hear and read, and especially to do his words. Amen. Amen. You may be seated. First, I'd like to thank the pastor and the first lady for allowing me to get up here this morning.
Amen.
It's always an honor. The ministers, deacons, all the people of PFCC and visitors. To give you a little history on 1 Samuel, if you think back, the pastor preached on some of 1 Samuel last week. But a little history, there's three main characters here. You have Samuel the priest, you have Saul the king, and you have David. 1 Samuel's a narrative. And we want to focus this morning on David. Now, I don't know if you ever seen this David or not, because this David has backslidden. He's hanging out with the Philistines.
All right.
This is this David I'm talking about now. The same David that was anointed to be king when he was just a little shepherd.
Yeah.
Same David that slain Goliath. That same David is now hanging out with the Philistines. And the Philistine is the enemy. Godless people. But David is hanging out with them. If you're in the process of being broken, it's just not God trying to make you into something that he's well pleased of. See, if I know you like I know myself, all of us have some brokenness.
Right.
It doesn't matter if the brokenness is a broken heart, broken marriage, broken family, broken promises. Look at it as God's trying to empty you so he can feel you.
All right.
But it has to get you to nothing first. Sometimes your finances are a burden, your family is a burden, your physical health is a burden. All may seem too much to handle. When you're being reduced to nothing, God is always up to something.
All right.
When God is in the process of trying, testing, and inspecting you, he's really trying to make you. Now, David was facing all this. As I read, the town had been burned to ashes. The women and children, small and great, had been taken away. So David is in a battle. See, the biggest battle is always fought before the greatest breakthrough. If you're going through some brokenness right now, it's only God trying to bring a greater you out of you.
All right.
For all of you this morning going through some things, I just want to let you know when things are at their worst, God is working at his best.
Amen.
It may not look like it. It may not even feel like it. But when things are at their worst, God is at his best.
All right.
It says, in verse 1, it said, now it happened. Oh, it happened. It most definitely happened.
All right.
When David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day, the Amalekites had invaded the south of Ziklag, attacked Ziklag, and burned it with fire, and had taken captive the women and those who were there. God is dealing with David here. He's beginning to take everything that David had around him away. He started with, David got fired that first day that he was hanging out with the Philistine. He wanted to fight the Israelites. He joined the Philistine army to fight the Israelites because Saul was already trying to kill him. He knew he couldn't go back to the Israelites. His family is now gone. He's been fired from his job as a soldier. David had nothing left. David had emptied himself. When God is processing and trying to get us to where he wants us to be, it may be some pain. It may be some brokenness. And it says that David and his men came to the city and it was burned with fire, and their wives, their sons, their daughters had been taken away captive. Some wives, some sons, some daughters may be taken away from you captive. It may not even be physical, but it could be mental. They may be taken away from you. But when God is at his best, if you look at us, we're probably doing our worst. But when we're at our worst, God is always at his best. And remember, the biggest battles are always fought before your biggest breakthrough. Now, David is at this point. It said in verse 4, then David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. Now, you may say that David wasn't strong because he was weak. David was strong. David had been brought to his point. He couldn't turn back. He could only go down that road of weeping. And after he wept, he couldn't weep no more. You know, nobody told him weeping may endure for a night, but joy coming in the morning. They didn't go up there and tell him that. What they did was they wanted to stone him because it was his fault. See, the same people that was praising him going down the road,
Come on, teach it.
same ones that want to stone him right now. The same ones that said, Hosanna, 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 was the same ones saying, kill him, kill him, kill him.
Help us, Lord.
The same ones that'll lift you up. Maybe the same ones that let you down. See, David is at a bad point, looking at it from our human eyes. But I told you, when we at our worst, God is at his best. See, David has nowhere to turn. He's getting ready to be stoned. But he didn't give up. It said, and David's 2 wives, they had been taken away. He had nobody to turn to. But he did have someone. See, when we think we have no one, we have to go back and recover something that was lost. I told you David had been anointed to be king. He was anointed to be king. See, your brokenness has nothing to do with your position. And your condition has nothing to do with your position. So God is telling him that it's time for him to go back and recover all the stuff that was lost. All the stuff that was lost. Every great person of God has gone through a period of brokenness. Sometimes God has to break us to bless us. God has to bring us to an end so we can start a new beginning. David was anointed by Samuel to a position of king, and God don't make mistakes. If he anointed him king, he was going to be king. God don't make mistakes. If he put it together, it may fall apart, so he'll put it back together again. If he did it, he'll do it again. So God don't make mistakes. It may look like a mistake from where we're looking at, but God don't make mistakes. And David and the people were with them lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. All the power that he had been operating in is gone.
That's right.
Now God can give him the power he needs to operate like God wanted him to operate. See, he had the gift of leadership, and it was still there. But the anointing to be king was not. He had to go back and recover that which was lost. And we have to do the same thing, go back and recover that which was lost. God didn't make no mistake by bringing you here this morning. He got you just where he wants you at. You may be broken. We all are broken in some aspect. But God don't make no mistakes. He didn't mistakenly bring you here this morning. He didn't mistakenly wake you up this morning. He don't make mistakes. And it said, and David, now David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the souls of all the people were grieved, every man for his son and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Now David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Now, you have to do something. He brought you here this morning. You have to do something. He woke you up. You have to do something. It says here, David had to do something. David had to strengthen himself. David had to strengthen himself in the Lord. He didn't strengthen himself again in him. He didn't strengthen himself in his men. He didn't strengthen himself in his wife. He didn't strengthen himself in his children. He didn't strengthen himself where he was standing. He strengthened himself in the Lord, his God. He has to be his God. He was no longer with the Philistines. He said he strengthened himself in the Lord. Because God is rich in mercy and grace. So if he can forgive David, he can forgive all of us. Because he's rich in his grace and his mercy. And because David was now completely broken, he was ready to be filled. Even his little cracks, he could put wax in them so they wouldn't leak. Oh, he was waiting to be filled. Before this, he didn't see himself as weak, but after coming out and his house was burned down, everybody had left him. David knew he was weak.
Come on now.
When he humbled himself under the mighty hand of God, he was ready to be exalted by God in due time. In due time. David had to recover his strength from the Lord. God's strength there for David all the time.
All right.
But when we are working on our own strength,
Oh, come on.
God will just stand back and let you use your strength. David could remember God's love at this point. David not only saw the love of the Lord, but David saw his own brokenness. In verse 6, now David is greatly distressed. If you remember, last Sunday, the pastor preached on those three things: distress, death, and disconnect. David had found himself at all three of those places. Now the same person that is in debt, disconnected, and those are the same ones that was behind David. And I told you, now they want to stone David. David knew he couldn't depend on anybody else but the Lord. But once David strengthened himself, his men began to strengthen themselves in the Lord. His daughters, but David strengthened himself in the Lord. Then David said, Abiathar, the priest, and Elimelech, son, please bring me the ephod here to me. And Abiathar threw the ephod to David. Brought the ephod to David. Now what that was this. The high priest always had this thing on, like an apron, if you will, where you cooks and cleans. So that when they're doing the sacrifices, the blood don't get all over it. They ditch on this ephod. Now he used that to talk to God and get what God had for him. Now, all the time David was doing all the things he was doing, he always had that priest right there with him. God will keep somebody with you all the time. You're doing all the stuff that you're doing. Somebody's always standing right there by you. See, it was the priest. Now it's the Holy Ghost. Always standing, watching what you're doing. And just like David called on his priest, you can call on him anytime you get ready. He's always standing right there by your side. When nobody else is standing there. He's always standing there. He didn't leave you. No matter where you go, he didn't leave you. So David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I pursue this truth? Now David was a soldier. Being a soldier, if you attack, you don't need to ask anybody, can I attack back? But David did. David didn't operate in his own self. See, if we attack back. We operate in our own self. Fight or flight. But David did not. David did not. He inquired. David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I pursue this truth? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for you shall surely overtake them. And without fail, recover all. All. God is telling you this morning, surely you can pursue all the dreams that you have. Everything that you have in there you want to pursue. God is telling you this morning, it's time for you to pursue. And you shall recover all. And as I get ready to close, when God gives us something to do, he also gives us a promise in doing it. If God sends you to do something, he'll make sure he equips you to do it. God can make your crooked road straight. David pursued the Amalekites who conquered Ziklag, and he captured them. He started out with 600 men. 200 men failed. They was too weak to go. Everybody won't go with you on your journey. Some may have to stay back. Everybody might not support you on your journey. Some may have to stay back. But David didn't stop there. David's men were always at the place of mutiny against him. The people spoke of stoning him. But now since he strengthened himself in the Lord, and since he inquired of the Lord, and since he did what God told him to do, his men are totally back on his side. So he had to strengthen himself, inquire, and do what the Lord said do. He didn't run out there anymore on his own power. Sometimes everybody cannot go with you to where you're going. We're starting a new year off with us fighting for recovery. Recovering all from the adversary. If God is for us, who can be against us? God wants us to be just as committed for Him as He is to us. We need to strengthen ourselves in the Lord. We need to inquire of the Lord. We need to believe God's promises. We need to do what God tells us to do. We have to show unexpected care and kindness to others. We have to see the Lord's victory, and we need to share the rewards with others. That's all I have.